With Ethan childhood sweethearts. Everyone in the circle knew he had picky standards. And I was the only daddy's girl who could keep him at bay. But then, Ethan was surrounded by a girl with an arrogant and reckless personality. Which I heard was very much to Ethan's liking. I began to alienate Ethan, avoiding seeing him until I finally came home one day. He rolled into my room late at night and kissed my waist. I was shivering all over. But he laughed softly in my ear. "Sophia. Try avoiding me one more time. Roses weave romantic dreams. Chase to see roses romantic meaning endless. The romance is endless. Be sure to like, comment, forward, follow, turn on the little bell. Beautiful drama on time to embrace. Wine glasses collide. Lights flicker. The air is filled with excitement. In the center of the box, a man and a woman were surrounded by the crowd. The girl clasped the dice on the table with one hand, her movements flowing smoothly. The moment it was revealed, strong cries erupted from the box. "Holy cow. Sister Juan is awesome. Holy cow. Jiang lost? Shit." Ethan's long legs were folded. His body leaned back lazily. His eyes fell on the dice. His tone was loose. A little bit of patience. After saying that, he picked up the wine on the table and drank it all in one go. It was the first time I could see the scene of Ethan being penalized for drinking. The crowd was busy taking out their cell phones to record the video and send it to their friends. Aria's red lips smiled gently, her eyes carrying a seductive sensuality. It's just luck. But it's worth it to win against Jiang Xiao today." The crowd's uproar got louder. In the corner of the box, I unconsciously pinched the wall of the wine glass. Strange emotions surged in my heart. The line of sight fell on Aria's open and delicate face. And my eyes darkened. She's Aria? I've heard the name Aria many times. But I've never had the chance to meet her. I was with Ethan childhood sweethearts. 2 cottages next to each other. We've been going to and from school together since we were 5 years old. Everyone in the circle knew Ethan picky standards. And I was the only daddy's girl who could make him patient. But lately, Ethan has been seeing another girl. Aria. A little-known race car driver. I heard that her character is arrogant and reckless. Very much to Ethan's liking. At first, I didn't care much about Aria because Ethan has had a demonic face since he was a child. And there are many girls who pursue him. But Ethan has never looked at them squarely. But when the name Aria came up in Ethan's mouth, I realized with a jolt that Aria's name had come up too many times. And people around Ethan had actually started to know about her. Shit. Brother Jiang played racing with Sister Juan. And directly lost a McLaren to Sister Juan. He lost a McLaren to Sister Juan. Racing with Sister Juan? Does Mr. Jiang not know that Sister Juan is a race car driver? Who knows? Maybe he lost on purpose? It's just a McLaren. It's not as important as making Sister Juan happy. Oh. No way. Isn't MS. Song with Mr. Jiang? Sophia? I'm sure he only sees her as his sister. Sophia has a bad ear. He probably pities her and has been protecting her all these years. Otherwise, they would have gotten together a long time ago. And Jiang Xiao's temperament wouldn't have waited so many years. That's true. It seems to be true. At a glance, Sister Juan and Jiang Xiao are a perfect match. I'm sure it's not a good idea to listen to the wall. That day. A very simple data. But I counted it in the lab for a day. But I didn't get any result. When Ethan arrived, I was still biting my pen and staring at a blank piece of draft paper. He didn't bother me. Put the yogurt next to me. Put on his headphones and sat lazily playing games. Occasionally looking up at me. I did half a day's math and couldn't figure it out. A little annoyed, I put it down and called out to him. Ethan. Ethan took off his headset. What's wrong? Bad form? I looked him in the eyes. Are you going to the bar today to play with them? He propped his chin up slightly. Yes. I'm going. Ethan froze for a moment and raised his eyebrows lightly before getting up to help me pack my bag. I heard his low, teasing voice. When pigs fly. I bristled. I don't want you to worry about it. Ethan didn't take offense and said in a droll voice, "Fine. I don't care." When we arrived at the box, Ethan walked in front of us with my bag in his pocket. The people just wanted to call out, "Brother Jiang, why are you carrying your backpack?" Seeing me, they froze for a split second and spoke a little quieter. Ning Ning also came on. I gently nodded my head. Ethan hooked his lips, looking like he was in a happy mood. "Well, I brought her here to have some fun." He leads me to sit down on the couch and I hesitate for a minute. Pulling him back, "I want a drink." Ethan nods and raises his hand to ask for a glass of juice for me. At my expectation, I had a sultry expression on my face. The floor heated up immediately after Arya arrived. She suggested a game of craps. And when the crowd agreed, she called out to Ethan, "Ethan, wanna play?" I was sipping my juice when I paused and looked up at her. It's not often that someone dares to call Ethan by his full name to his face. But Ethan didn't take offense. He raised his eyes absently. Not interested. Arya locked eyes with me through the crowd and she hooked her lips in a smile. Turning to Ethan, she continued, "What? Ethan, are you afraid? Afraid of losing to me again?" Ethan's dark eyes narrowed and he snorted out softly, "Heh. I'll play with you." Under the spotlight, the crowd surrounded the two of them. And Arya, who had an open smile between her eyebrows. I looked at Ethan again. It seemed like they did look quite good together. I smiled in relief, grabbed my bag, and left in silence. Ethan is rebellious, fights hard and drags. Not easy to mess with. But he is excellent in whatever he does, and is known as the pride of the sky. On the other hand, I'm quiet and strict, only study in my head, and am what everyone calls hearing impaired. I am hard of hearing because of congenital damage to my ears. It's not so bad that I can't hear, but I often can't hear clearly. So I'm very quiet and rarely talk. No matter how you look at it. Ethan and I don't seem to be from the same world. But he has been by my side to protect me for more than 10 years. I've been wearing hearing aids since I was a kid. And whenever someone called me hearing impaired, it was Ethan who took the heat out of me. He always seemed to be patient with me. But liking him was the hardest secret of my entire youth to tell. We were best friends. And I cherished that friendship so much that I didn't dare take a step forward about liking him. I would have never dared to hope that I would have any other possibility of relationship with him. But on the day of my bar mitzvah, in my room, Ethan pinched my waist and pressed me hard against the door. In an ambiguous position, I was pressed against his most private parts through my thin clothes. He's so close to me. So close that the tip of my nose is full of his alcohol breath. I blushed a complete red as I felt the change in his body. Ethan smiled and whispered something in my ear. But I had just showered and wasn't wearing a hearing aid. I pointed to my ear. "What did you say?" "I didn't hear you." Ethan didn't answer my words. He just set me down. Squatting down, he tried on the heels he'd given me. Fingers rubbed my ankles, one after the other. An itch creeps up my spine and I shrink my foot. Ethan's eyes darkened. He stopped rubbing and reached down to put my hearing aid on. I heard him say, "It's beautiful." His voice was a little raspy. "Happy 18th, Sophia." I looked at him carefully. "Ethan, are you drunk?" Ethan looked at me with dark eyes and laughed in a low, loose tone. "Well, I guess I'm drunk." There was an indescribable gentleness in his eyes. So it made me mistakenly think that maybe I had a chance too. But he was Ethan. How could he like someone as boring as me? Taking care of me was only entrusted by the elders of the family. As everyone says, to be together would have been together a long time ago. Walking on the road, the night wind woke up my brain. In fact, I didn't think about what it would be like if Ethan wasn't by my side. I've stayed with him since we were kids, and I've long gotten used to his presence. Even for college, we enrolled in the same school. But in this world, no one person is inseparable from another. Now, Ethan has a better girl by his side. And I don't want to be the one to pester him. Keeping a distance is the first choice I would make. The ringing of my cell phone broke the silence of the night. And without thinking, I clicked reject. The call came back in and I hung up again. It was the first time I didn't answer Ethan's call. And the call came in again. No matter how much I hung up, it called again. One after another. As if persistent. I let out a breath and finally clicked answer. Sophia. Can you be patient and leave on your own without saying anything? Ethan's voice had a hint of anger in it. Was he angry? I didn't want to bother you because you were having a good time. Can I trust you to go home alone at this hour? Where are you now? Don't move. I'll get it. No. I'm 21. I'm not a kid. I can find my way. When I refused to tell him, Ethan sighed softly on the phone and softened his voice. Are you angry because I didn't give you any wine? You're not a good drinker. You'll get a headache tomorrow. No. The other side of the phone froze. Then why? After a long silence. My voice was muffled. It's because I suddenly don't want to be friends with you anymore. Why? On the other end of the line. Ethan's voice had a hint of danger in it. I bit my lip. You're in my way. Ethan gritted his teeth. So you want to fall in love? I cautiously probed. So it's okay to keep a little distance. Okay? On the other end of the phone, I heard the sound of a cigarette being lit. Ethan sneered. Sophia. Bring me your wild man first. I was apprehensive as I hung up with Ethan. When the call came in again, I clenched my teeth and clicked on the blackout button. Holy cow. I was so bold that I dared to pull the plug on Ethan. I know Ethan. He's going to come after me. Luckily, I'm going to Maplewood University tomorrow for an exchange program with a lab group. Otherwise, I don't know how I'm going to face him. This is the exchange opportunity one applied to the lab instructor a week ago. Ethan doesn't know it yet. I'm a person who, because of my stupidity, is best at avoiding things. I'd leave tomorrow. Buy a plane ticket. And go numb. The next day I dragged my bags and breathed a long sigh of relief as I settled down at Maplewood University. I stopped thinking about Ethan and Arya for a while. And after familiarizing myself with my lab siblings, I dove into experimental research with a vengeance. In the meantime, I had a number of calls from unfamiliar numbers on my cell phone. Somehow, I just knew it was Ethan calling. Judging by the frequency of the calls, he must have been pretty pissed off. But when he called one, I blacked out one. Gradually, he stopped calling. It was 3 months after the exchange program at the lab in University A ended. Quite a few universities were already on winter break. So I went straight back to Sterling City. I dragged my suitcase, leaving a row of wheel marks where I walked. Unlike the wet and cold of Cotton City, Sterling City had already gotten a very thick snowfall. And many kids were building snowmen, their little faces freezing red. When I got home, my mom was busy patting the snow off of me, holding my hand and asking me how the lab at U of A was. My dad put down the newspaper and went to the kitchen to make me brown sugar and ginger tea. When I met Ethan, it was at the reception in the evening. Knowing the news of my return, Jiang's father and mother had to throw me a reception. The most luxurious hotel in Sterling City. I was the last one to arrive when I pushed open the door of the private room. I was the last one to arrive. All eyes were on me. So many people. I saw Ethan at once. Ethan heard the ringing. Carelessly lifted his eyelids. Swept me a glance. Light. As if there is no change in mood because of my arrival. He leaned back in his chair, lazily playing with his cell phone. Occasionally looking up at the side. Ning Ning. Come sit here with Mama Jiang. Auntie Jiang warmly greeted me as I went to sit beside her. I smiled nicely and answered yes. When I passed by Ethan, he didn't stop playing with his cell phone. And his eyes didn't show the slightest bit of emotion. I sat down next to Jiang's mom. For heaven's sake. Right across from Ethan. Obviously no words were spoken. But I don't know if it's my illusion. Ethan's eyes always fall on my body intentionally or unintentionally. But his expression was so light that one couldn't figure out his emotions. To save his life, he was already fierce-looking. And when he stared at people with an expressionless face, It made people uncomfortable. My hand with the chopsticks tightened and I looked down without looking at him. I wonder how far he and Arya have progressed during this time. Are they getting along? It should be pretty good. The two of them have such suitable personalities. I should be happy for Ethan. But I don't understand where this annoyance in my heart is coming from. Ning Ning. Eat more. Auntie has seen you lose weight. Auntie Jiang's voice pulled my thoughts back. She peeled a shrimp and put it in my bowl. I hurriedly shook those chaotic thoughts out of my head. During the meal, Auntie Jiang and I talked and laughed. While Ethan's breath grew colder and colder, I forced myself to pretend I didn't see it. Until the banquet ended, Ethan and I didn't speak a word. When I got home, the first thing I did was to take a hot bath comfortably. I blow-dried my hair and opened the bathroom door when I ran headfirst into a hard chest. Almost falling over, Ethan reached out and clasped me around the waist. A familiar scent hit me and the window to the room was opened. I looked up in a bit of pain and glared at Ethan. You went through the window into my room again. Ethan let out a soft snort and looked at me with his eyes downcast as the hand around my waist began to rub. He pushes the bathroom door behind me open even further, taking my entire body into the bathroom. Ethan. What are you doing? Ethan didn't reply. He just raised his hand to protect the back of my head and pushed me hard against the wall. I frowned slightly while Ethan slowly and methodically pulled up my hair and put my hearing aid on. His voice was low. Have you had a good 3 months? I stared at him without saying anything and Ethan didn't get annoyed. He laughed lowly and continued. Sophia. I'm a bad one. His hot breath hit my neck. 2 months of not picking up my calls and not returning my messages. Your little boyfriend is keeping a pretty tight rein on you. I struggled a few times, but didn't break free. Ethan leaned closer to me. Sophia. Try avoiding me again? I looked up, and I was frozen in Ethan's dark eyes. Ethan's eyes were full of possessiveness that he couldn't hide. It was as if he was trying his hardest to restrain something, and the emotion in his eyes was about to consume me. I hadn't seen him like this before and carefully called out to him. Ethan. What's wrong with you? Ethan laughed out softly. The big hand attached to the back of my neck tightened. What's wrong with me? You've been avoiding me for 3 months. And the little cabbage that I've been guarding for so many years is being arched by someone. What do you think is wrong with me? He held my wrists and turned me around. In the next instant, a warm touch came from my waist, and my whole body shuddered. Ethan was actually sucking lightly on the skin of my waist. Ethan. You're crazy. You calm down. Ethan's fingertips worked their way up from my waist. Calm down how? You break up with your little boyfriend and I might just calm down. His voice was hoarse as he gently twirled his fingers. Be a good girl and call your little boyfriend out so I can meet him. Okay? I'll see what it is about him that you like. I gasped slightly. The unusual touch made me so nervous that my words began to take on a sobbing tone. Ethan, you're sick. I'm not in a relationship. I don't have a boyfriend. Ethan's body stopped violently. His eyes gradually sobered up. You're not in love? I pushed him away violently. I do experiments every day. How can I have time to fall in love? Realizing something, panic flashed in Ethan's eyes as he carefully let go of me. Ning Ning. I'm sorry. I thought you suddenly ignored me because... Before he could finish, I interrupted him. Thought I had a boyfriend? Thought he made me disconnect from you? I looked at Ethan and couldn't hold back my aggravation any longer. Ethan. Even if I'm in love and have a boyfriend, what does it have to do with you? We are just friends. Who are you to control me? Ethan instantly turned off the fire and bent down to start coaxing me. Ning Ning. I'm sorry. Don't be angry. I took a step back, my voice a bit cold. Keep some distance. You have Arya. So don't mess with me. Ethan froze. So you're ignoring me because of Arya? I've only known her for a few months. What do you think I'm going to have with her? I looked at Ethan in surprise. So he doesn't like Arya? I sighed and suddenly felt like letting it go. Not wanting to think about it that much. Even if there wasn't an Arya, someone else would come along later. And who was I to get upset? Might as well keep my distance for now. I'm kind of tired and don't want to keep going inward. I looked up at Ethan. My tone hard. It doesn't matter. You can get along with Arya and I can get along with other guys. Ethan's hand hanging down at his side tightened as he seemed to want to say something. I didn't give him a chance and pulled the door open. Ethan. I'm a little sleepy. Go away. His eyes darkened and he lifted his foot to walk out the door. As he reached the door, Ethan stopped. Sophia. What childhood sweethearts can't resist Skyfall? That's not even an option with me. Ethan's voice was low with a hint of self-deprecation. You're right. We're nothing more than friends. Who am I to care? But who wants to be just friends with you? Ethan and I went cold turkey. What he said that night left me frozen in place for a long time. My heart struck by something deep. Maybe I had misunderstood Ethan all along. But this time, he seemed really angry. There was no taking back what had been said. And now that it had happened, I didn't know how to explain it to him. I'm such a twisted and sensitive character. Even I despise myself. The two people who used to stick together every day. This vacation, he and I both tacitly did not look for each other again. For the first time, we didn't bother each other. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, our families got together for dinner. And he handed over a red envelope with a bland look. Red envelope. I didn't take it. And just as I was about to wave my hand and say no, Ethan shoved it directly into my hand. His eyes were strong and direct. But his voice was muffled. Take it. The red envelope isn't too much. Other than that, we didn't speak another word for the entire winter vacation. Even when school started. Obviously in the same school. Our lives seemed to no longer intersect. Gradually, many people began to notice something unusual between us. Holy shit. Jiang Shou and Sophia are in a Cold War? Split up? No way. They're childhood sweethearts. It's impossible for them to break up. Right? I think it's just a fight. It's been a week since school started and I haven't seen Mr. Jiang and Sophia together. Mom? Sophia looks so soft. But she dares to fight with Mr. Jiang. I went to the same high school as them. And Mr. Jiang is famous for his patience with Sophia. It should be said that in this world, only Sophia dares to quarrel with Mr. Jiang. Shit. No wonder the pressure on Jiang Shao's body is so low these days. His face is so scary. I don't even dare to walk next to him. Ethan is the man of the hour at school. And more people are discussing my fight with him. In order not to be gossiped about, I started to avoid places in school where I might meet Ethan. When I saw him again, it was in the elevator on the way to class. A few boys entered the elevator moments before the doors were about to close. Ethan was at the front of the line with his pockets carelessly tucked in, followed by his friends. After so many days of hiding, I met him in the middle of the water. The moment he saw me, Ethan visibly paused. I unconsciously moved toward the elevator. And Ethan noticed, his eyes darkening for a moment. He lifted his foot into the elevator and stood next to me in silence. My grip on my laptop tightened and I bowed my head slightly. His friends hadn't seen it was me yet. And the elevator was so narrow that I was squeezed into the corner of the elevator by them. Just as they were still trying to move in, Ethan kicked the boys. Still pushing in. Can't your eyes see there's someone behind you? He lowered his eyes to me and I unconsciously backed away again. Ethan pulled my wrist and said uncomfortably, "Don't back away. Be careful of hitting your head." Ethan's friend was busy making room for me. Ning. Your class is in session too? I gently nodded. Ethan's fingers were a bit cold. I couldn't tell the emotions in my heart. My heartbeat accelerated unnoticeably. The elevator stopped on the 5th floor. I whispered, "I'm going to class." Ethan's dark eyes looked at me, wanting to say something, but in the end just softly Go. I still hadn't been able to make up with him. I didn't expect to cross paths with Arya. And I didn't think that she would show up when I was in such a mess. When the lab project was over, my siblings offered to get together. By the time we got back, it was already late. I have a good feeling about my elder brother offered to send me. I did not think about it and refused. Said I can. But to my surprise, while waiting for the bus, I met 3 drunks coming out of a bar. They walked towards me crookedly, looking at me with lustful eyes. Why are you alone? Beautiful? Do you want us to keep you company? I frowned slightly. Nervous. Taking a step to the side. No. You guys smell pretty bad. That's not a stench. It's the smell of alcohol. It's the smell of men. I raised my hand over my nose. It's supposed to stink. I spoke bluntly. And one of the men immediately changed his face. You. How can a little girl speak so unappealingly? After saying that, he lowered his head and sniffed his own clothes. Where does it stink? I don't see what a little girl like you knows. Another sharp-eyed man noticed the hearing aids on my ears and pointed at me in wonder. Brother Lou? She's wearing a hearing aid. Is she deaf? Then why is she so eloquent? Don't deaf people usually have trouble speaking? Another man started to look at me strangely. Deaf? That's a bummer. But this face is so innocent. It's sure to be fun. As they said that, they even tried to reach out their hands to remove the hearing aids from my ears. I slapped their hands away. My voice took on a cold tone. I'm not deaf. You guys speak with respect. I can hear you. I'm just hard of hearing. After that, I wanted to leave. I'm not afraid of them. I don't believe that with so many people here, they would dare to do anything to me. For heaven's sake. They really dare to do something to me. Seeing me leaving, the man laughed disdainfully and reached out to tug on my arm. A deaf person is still so noble. What are you pretending? Name your price. How much? You're sick. Let go of me. I struggled, looking around with pleading eyes. But these men were tall, muscular and smelled of alcohol. A number of people wanted to intervene, but stopped in their tracks at the menacing gazes of the 3 men. Be fucking sensible and mind your own business. Unease surrounded me and I began to struggle strongly. I couldn't be taken by them. As I broke free, the hearing aid in my ear was knocked to the floor. I bent down to pick it up, trying to keep my hands from shaking so much. But tears smashed on the back of my hand and my foot was twisted. What bad luck. The man reaches for my hair and I bite my lip, yanking on my hearing aid and trying to run. Suddenly, the man screams, and am pushed into my arms. The faint scent of perfume coming from the tip of my nose. It was Aria. Her hands smoothed down my hair one after the other, as if soothing my body that was shaking from fear. Aria took the hearing aid I was holding and helped me put it on. Her voice was soft. Don't be afraid, Sophia. I looked up at her and she gently wiped away my tears. Sit down next to me for a while. I'll go and clean up these brutes. With that, she made to step forward. I pulled the small corner of her dress tightly and looked at her uneasily. Dangerous. Don't go. Aria froze for a moment, seemingly not expecting my reaction. She laughed softly and patted my hand. My family owns a boxing gym. Don't worry about me. Aria wore a black jacket and her legs were straight and long. She moved her wrists and looked at the 3 drunken men with light eyes. Don't you want to play? I'll play with you. The man in the lead didn't take Aria seriously at first. What are you? Before he could finish his sentence, Aria kicked him to the ground. What followed was a series of miserable screams. The man crawled around in a sorry state. Help! Help! Help me! Someone help me for a moment. The passers-by who hadn't left all turned their heads in silent agreement, busy pretending not to see. Save you? Aria eyes tail up. The corner of the mouth rippled arc. People do not like to meddle in other people's business. Saying that, she grabbed the man's collar and yanked him back again. I clutched my bag and stared at Aria without blinking. God. She was glowing. I was helped to rest in a chair by Aria, who crouched down to check my broken foot. So, I hear that you and Ethan are still in a Cold War? I froze at the sudden question and then nodded. Aria sat down next to me. What the hell happened? I can't for the life of me figure out how Ethan can still fight with you. It wasn't exactly a fight. But I did misunderstand him. I pursed my lips slightly and told her exactly what happened. The three drunks who were squatting on the ground under Arya's pressure and didn't dare to move were listening with great interest. But when I finished, they were still a bit dissatisfied. This is finished? I go. Little girl, you are also too screwed up, right? Of course, know that I am screwed up. Being poked and prodded. My mouth couldn't help but deflate. Arya let out a TSK and kicked them in the ass. So fierce. You're making a statement. What are you doing eavesdropping? Hold your fucking heads in your hands and don't fuck around. Then he turned to me and swore. Sophia. The heart of heaven and earth can be seen by the sun and the moon. I do want a man. But the man I want is not Ethan. It's Ethan's cousin. Even though I was playing dice at the bar on purpose. It was just a way of trying to stimulate you too because I thought you weren't open to the idea. It's my fault. I started shaking my head before Arya could finish. I don't blame you. It's my own problem. How can I blame you? So you guys have been in a cold war for so long because of this? I nodded my head a little downcast. Yeah. God. Ethan's usually pretty cool. Why is he so weak when it comes to you? Arya held my hand and said. You don't need to think so much when you like each other. It's a pity if you miss out. I gouged my hand. My voice is a bit bitter. But Ethan must still be angry with me after I said those things. Arya raised her eyebrows and asked tentatively. You mean, he's mad at you? She took out her cell phone and clicked on a video. In the video, Ethan's big 87 tall man was sitting in the corner of the bar crying like a discarded puppy. He was pouring himself a bottle of wine. And no one could talk him out of it. Someone tried to come forward to comfort. Brother Jiang. We will work together to give you a solution. Surely we can coax Ning Ning. Maybe things are not so bad. Ethan paused in his drinking and muttered. It's not that bad? Suddenly he thought of something else. As if the sky had collapsed. His tears fell even more. It can't be good. It can't be good anymore. I've done so much to her. She won't forgive me this time. The people around us had never seen Ethan like this before. And while persuading him, they took out their cell phones to record the video. I watched the video. Tears falling down my face. Arya was holding her cell phone. And was a bit proud of herself. Look. You don't even need to coax him. He is. Himself. Before she finished, she realized that I was crying. And she immediately started to panic. She scratched her hair and asked me. Sophia. What's wrong with you? Why are you crying all of a sudden? Shouldn't you be happy that Ethan isn't mad at you? I looked at her with red eyes. It's all my fault. If my character wasn't so sensitive and twisted, these things wouldn't have happened at all. I know it's a misunderstanding. So I should just make it clear. But I've been hesitating for so long over such a simple thing. Arya stroked my hair. It's okay. Look. You're great too. You know yourself so well. You think so too. Don't you? How do you think my personality is like that? It must have been hard for him to be with me for so many years. I don't like myself like this. I wailed and cried harder. Arya's eyes swished wide and she looked around with a trespassing expression. Song. Sophia. Don't cry. No. 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 You. She fumbled for comfort. Standing up for a moment. Then sitting down. Finally relieved to see a somewhat anxious figure in the distance. Fortunately came quickly. Jiang Shao. Here. Hearing her call Ethan. I looked up and caught a glimpse of those dark eyes. Ethan was panting slightly. As if he had come running. And the ends of his hair were a little messy. He checked me up and down and knelt down in front of me. Asking me a little heartily. Was it a shock? My eyes were red. I'm fine. Don't worry. In the past, wherever I went, Ethan was always by my side. He protected me too well. So nothing like this ever happened to me. But now, I saw deep self-blame in Ethan's eyes. He was actually blaming himself. At the moment, my heart was knocking hard. Ethan squeezed my hand soothingly. one after another. His aura was so strong that the three drunks crouching next to him, seeing how Ethan was so nervous about me, said it was bad and tacitly shrank back and forth into the corner. But Ethan looked at them with anger in his eyes and raised his jaw. Just you guys, right? Ethan was full of hostility. The drunkard cried and shouted at Arya. Police station. Send us to police station. We are willing to go to police station. Ethan's tone was as flat as the wind. It's too cheap for you. There were screams and screams. And Ethan's punches were delivered with fury and anger. Arya silently walked over to cover my eyes. Jiang Shao. Almost done. Sophia twisted ankle. Important to go to the hospital. Ethan carried me on his back. Arya lit a cigarette. You guys go first. I'll send these fools home before we talk about it. Don't leave it outside to freeze to death. Ethan looked at her sideways and nodded lightly. Thanks. He lifted his feet and walked towards the nearest hospital. His hand on my back was very steady. Ethan's back was warm and wide. And I pressed my face gently against his back. I don't know how long it took. But Ethan carried me on his back and forced himself to speak without caring. Ning ning. Why don't you stop avoiding me? Ethan didn't rush, patiently waiting for my answer. But the hand on his back was shaking uncontrollably. I froze. Like so many ants were tearing at my heart, smothering the pain. Ethan was a proud man. And it was hard to imagine such a tone coming from him. He said again, don't hide from me. Okay? Obviously pretending not to care. But it was hard to hide the nervous tone. For once, I'd been in a cold war with him for so long that I almost thought we couldn't make up. My nose was sore. Okay. I buried my face into his neck. Ethan. I'm sorry. Ethan's footsteps paused. Why are you apologizing? My grip on Ethan tightened. Just wanted to apologize to you. I had so much to say. But I didn't know where to start. But Ethan seemed to understand me. He laughed lowly. Silly. No need to apologize to me. Because I can't hear the outside world clearly. I am always sensitive to other people's faces. I don't go for what I want. And I always worry too much about what I want. I have been a coward for 21 years. But at this moment, the window pane between Ethan and me has become clearer than ever. My ears burned. Ethan. What's wrong? Would you like to try and have a relationship with me? Ethan's body froze instantly and I gouged my hands nervously. I know that with my character if you fall in love with me it might be hard. So, it's actually okay to reject me. It's okay to like me when I'm better. My voice is getting smaller and smaller. The corner of Ethan's mouth hooks up in a shallow arc. He smothers a laugh at me. Silly. He continued on with his back to me and I heard his scattered voice. But that's how I like you. There were fireworks blooming in my heart. Ethan and I were together. After a month of being with Ethan, he was revealed. I realized how much Ethan had been holding back all these years. At night, seeing my slightly nervous look, he removed my hearing aid. Not being able to hear clearly, I was more sensitive to everything outside. Hot kisses fell. Ethan pushing harder and harder. Reaching the top. Ethan said something. I obviously wasn't wearing a hearing aid. But my eyes could see it clearly. He was saying, Sophia. Of all the choices, I would choose you. There is so much resonance in the world. But there are few voices for my ears to hear. My unspoken words. My hidden love. It seems like because of the word ordinary we always feel like we'll be ignored by the world. But friend, don't underestimate yourself. You are important. And in the whole galaxy, there is no star brighter than you. Just like the summer is grand. The cicada is small. But the sound of cicadas is enough to represent the summer. Know that this mountain romance is for you. I wish you all. This life is open-minded. End of article. Extra. Ethan. Since elementary school, Ethan was known as the little bully. He was always a hangdog in front of anyone. Except Sophia. He couldn't do anything about Sophia. And whenever Sophia's eyes were red and about to shed a tear, no matter what, Ethan felt it was his fault. He fumbled for comfort. wiping Sophia's tears with a careful hand for fear of rubbing Sophia's face red. Knowing that they boys had brown skin, Ethan realized, powerlessly, that he ate Sophia up for that. As long as Sophia was around him, the hostility in his body would unconsciously fade away. The teenager's gangly voice hid an undetectable tenderness. Ning Ning. Don't cry anymore. Ethan was 16 years old when he realized he liked Sophia. He saw a pretty boy handing Sophia a love letter after school. That boy was the study committee member in his class. Had a good personality, a good temper, and never got into fights. Ethan knew that he clearly shouldn't care, and had no right to care. But looking at Sophia's ears reddened, Ethan's heart was irritated for no reason. And he held back again and again. All he could think of was why. Why should the girl he was guarding be given to him? Faster than he could think, Ethan had already stepped forward and took the love letter from the boy for Sophia. The boy didn't want to give it. He wanted Sophia to take it herself. But when he looked at him, Ethan's eyes were full of coldness. Jiang. Ethan-san. Ethan sneered. What? As a study committee member, you want to bring my Sophia to fall in love early? Ethan is not to be messed with. The boy was scared. But again, he still wanted to say something. But Ethan didn't even look at the boy. He just carried Sophia's school bag with a natural movement and led Sophia away. As he passed by the boy, Ethan paused and swept his eyes lightly towards him. Don't have a next time. After walking for a long time and calming down, Ethan realized that Sophia's hand was being held by him. He panicked a little, afraid that Sophia would blame him for making a fool of himself. But Sophia was so good. She just looked at Ethan blearily and said thank you to Ethan, saying that she herself was so nervous that she didn't know how to say no. Ethan wasn't afraid to look at Sophia. She wouldn't know how hard it took him to resist the urge to hug her. He was just like the boys, having thoughts about her that he shouldn't. Ethan had a face that looked philandering. But Ethan wasn't a chaser. He had tried to tell her several times, but the little girl was not open to it. After more times, Ethan didn't dare to cross the line anymore. He was afraid that he wouldn't even be able to be friends with her because of her sensitive character. When Sophia was 18 years old, the Song family held a grand birthday party for her. A lot of people came to the party. All the famous people in Sterling City came. Everyone was whispering at the party, and they were shocked by the image of young Master Jiang putting his head down and coaxing people. But that day, Ethan actually lost control. He knew very well the purpose of the Song family's banquet, which was to find a good marriage candidate for Sophia. But his Sophia didn't know anything yet. Quite a few rich kids' eyes landed on her face. Ethan's throat twitched lightly and pulled the person into his arms. Tired? Go to your room and rest if you're tired. He sent Sophia back to her room. Until the banquet ended, those who wanted to befriend the Song family didn't have a chance to get in touch with Sophia. When the banquet went to the point where there was no one left, Ethan didn't know what was wrong with him. He took several sips of wine in annoyance. And when he reacted, he had already walked to the door of Sophia's room. By the way, he had come to give Sophia high heels, which he had picked out for a long time, and which would look great on Sophia's feet. But Sophia had just showered and smelled so good. Things had gotten out of his control when Head pressed her against the door to his room. Ethan looked at Sophia with a bit of fascination and pulled her hair behind her ear. Sophia. You like me a little bit like I like you. Okay? Sophia, not wearing a hearing aid, looks puzzled and points to her ear. What did you say? I didn't hear you. Ethan paused, sighed lowly, and resigned himself to putting Sophia down and sitting down. He didn't say anything. He just knelt down, took Sophia's feet in his palms, and changed her into the heels Head bought. He couldn't help rubbing Sophia's ankles. They were really pretty. Suddenly, Sophia shrinks her foot. Ethan sobered. Did he scare her? Sensing Sophia's uneasiness, Ethan puts on Sophia's hearing aid. Looking at each other, he speaks softly. Happy 18th? Sophia. Sophia asks him. Ethan, are you drunk? Ethan's eyes were dark, and he smiled in a light-hearted manner. Yes. I think I am drunk. That night, when Song's father and mother were seriously choosing a marriage candidate for Sophia with photos, Ethan sat down in front of them. He made 2 cups of tea. One for Song's father and one for Song's mother. With a respectful tone. Sophia's marriage candidate. Can uncle and auntie consider me? Song's father and mother's faces flashed with difficulty. Although they were very strict with Sophia. But they also loved her. They didn't ask Sophia to marry into a big family. Nor did they care how much benefit Sophia's marriage could bring to the Song family. They just want Sophia to marry into the right family. So they can stand up for her. It's not that they haven't thought about Ethan. But the Jiang family is so big and powerful that the Song family is really out of their league. But Ethan, who has always been stubborn, was serious in his eyes. I have to give Sophia to someone else. He laughed softly. He laughed softly and said in an insistent tone. It's simply not possible. Sophia didn't know that on the night she turned 18. Ethan made 2 cups of tea at the Song family home. And Song's father and mother accepted the tea. Everyone said Ethan and Sophia were from 2 different worlds. Ethan's life blossomed with flowers. But Sophia's world is often not grass. But what does Ethan think when he looks at Sophia's smiling face? He was thinking that his Sophia had to be this happy all the time. He didn't want her to be ordinary. He wanted to be by her side. He wanted her to blossom for miles and miles. And to shine all the days of her life.